Sure, I wasn't going to do it this time, but yes, you can feel free to make a motion. So therefore it's done and voted on, and we're going, well, no, actually there's 3 of us, so we can vote on that. I was just gonna say we have to wait till Zona.
I actually looped it up. I automatically moved it up on the agenda. I'm sorry if you didn't wish that I do that.
No,
No, it's
Beth and
fine.
I-
I'm not even sure we would need to vote on that. I just, in order to make it permanent and clear to everybody what we're doing, I just thought it might be more convenient to do it with a motion, but I don't think that's actually necessary. So I wouldn't worry about it, Logan.
I'm not worried. I just make the point.
You guys are live.
Great, thank you. Right. Welcome everybody to this school committee meeting for October 22nd. I am Pauline Proch and I am chair for the school committee. Before I open this meeting, I am going to make a note, please, to our viewers. If you are interested in making a public comment, the YouTube comment is turned off. So if you would like to make a comment, you do need to sign in to the Zoom meeting. How you can do that, you can go onto the school website. There is a link there. I know Channel 18 sent out a link to the meeting, and you can also go on to the town government website. You will see the link for the meeting. If you click on that, you will see the Zoom meeting. You will click on that and you will be accepted in. You will have to give your name and email in order to join. And then what you would do is that you would use the raise hand option, and you will be called upon in order. And this section of the public comment, as always, is at the beginning of our meeting. And depending on how many public comments we have, depends on how long that particular part continues. So I'm trying to buy time here to give everybody an opportunity. If you do have a question for tonight or a comment for tonight, that you have time to get on through Zoom. Please remember, this is public comment, not question and answer. So you are able to ask a question, but we wouldn't necessarily come back with an answer this evening. Thank you. And now I'm going to open the meeting up. I'm Pauline Proch, Chair of Nantucket School Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and that they can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Zona Butler. Zona, are you there? Can you unmute? Thought I saw you there.
Yeah, we still can't hear her even when
Okay,
she's
but I see thumbs
unmuted.
up. Okay, all right. Now I have to go back to my sheet, sorry. Steve Sudovic.
Affirmative.
Thank you. Tim Lepre. Tim, are you there? And are you giving me, Tim, can I see you? You unmuted, but there you go.
Here.
Thank you. Staff, when I call your name, please respond. I will only be calling the staff who will be presenting this evening or communicating this evening. Superintendent, Dr. Beth Hallett.
Present.
Thank you. School Committee Clerk, Logan O'Connor.
Here.
Director of Technology, Jennifer Erickson.
Here.
Thank you. Director of Finance, Martin Engeloff.
Here.
And Director of the ELL Department, Kelly Cooney.
Here.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. And it is lovely to see the entire leadership team also this evening. This open meeting of Nantucket School Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's orders suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, Nantucket School Committee is convening via conference, via Zoom web app, and is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. And now I am going to turn to our agenda, and I will, as public comment is the, oh no, I will ask for approval of agenda. May I please have approval of the agenda, please?
Madam Chairman, if I may make a motion to permanently move the superintendent's report to the top of the agenda, where it would be more appropriate and efficient for obtaining public comment, for example. I move.
Certainly.
Thusly.
Second. May I have a second? Thank you, Tim. Any discussion? Thank you. May I have your vote, Zona Butler?
Aye.
Steve Sodovic?
Aye.
Tim Lepre?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm Pauline Proch. So we have approved the superintendent's report and the agenda for this evening. May I see if we have any public comments? Jen, do you have any public comments coming in? No.
No public comment.
Okay. Thank you. Well, then we will move on to Dr. Hallett, Superintendent's report. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to start with a few words on this week we've had on cohorts B and C in pre-K to 5 joining us, and we're starting to feel a little bit more whole with our hybrid plan in place at the elementary and intermediate schools. I have to say, I was standing outside greeting parents and greeting children as they came in, and so many of them were dressed up like it was the first day of school. They were excited, and what I love to see is that the teachers already knew them and they already knew their classmates, which was really exciting. And that was a special experience to be able to see this first day on Monday, and then again today with cohort C. Of course, we are learning new routines. There are new traffic patterns that are going on. Parent pickup and drop off is new for a lot of folks this week. And certainly everyone has pulled together and are learning protocols very quickly. But I will say that having had cohort A in before has been great, because they are sharing and teaching and communicating with their B and C classmates how the protocols work. And I think it's been a pretty smooth week this week. Principals certainly, can attest to that, I would hope. But it's just nice to have our students back. And I will say that I am very happy to report that as of today at 4 o'clock, Nantucket's COVID designation has officially moved from red to yellow. And we will be bringing back our middle and high school students in cohorts B and C starting on Monday, October 26th, and for cohort B, and Thursday, October 29th for cohort C. So we're very pleased about that. And now we have to keep doing what we're doing and keep wearing our masks, washing our hands, so that we can continue to have students in school and continue moving forward in their learning. So the first thing on the agenda is to explain and kind of walk you through a little bit of the District Improvement Plan Year 2. As you know, last year was our first year of our 3-year district improvement plan. And just to provide a little bit of review, we had identified last summer, we had identified 4 our overarching strategic objectives that would really drive this 3-year improvement cycle. These objectives, I'll just speak to them quickly. Strategic Objective 1 talks about improving student learning and achievement. Strategic Objective 2 is increasing support, equity, and access for all students. Strategic Objective 3 is securing and maximizing resources within the district. And Strategic Objective 4, championing a culture of inclusion, collaboration, and communication. So these 4 strategic objectives are kind of act as an umbrella for up to 6 different strategic initiatives, which are sustained throughout the course of the improvement cycle. So the document that you have in front of you is actually the action plan. Last year, we presented to you our Year 1 action plan, and some of that was completed, and some, unfortunately, we did have to stop and redirect because of COVID-19 and our closures. In coming together to draft the Year 2 action plan, we thought very carefully about what is truly important this year based on this unprecedented nature of COVID-19 and of our schooling this year. And we tried very hard to capture these things and the things that we felt were important for district growth in this unique time. So, so things like blended learning, differentiation, universal design for learning, social emotional learning, culturally responsive teaching, anti-racist pedagogy and leadership, all of these pieces we felt really fall right into what our needs were this year. So I'm sure you've all had a chance to review the draft Year 2 action plan, and I don't plan to go through step by step. We'd be here forever. But I will highlight a few focus areas that are actually in bold. You may have asked why there are some bold action steps. And so these are bold because we felt that they were certainly priorities. All of the action steps are doable and all of them are important, but the bold ones we see as some priority given to these. So in strategic initiative number 1.1, which is utilizing district-wide data protocols to analyze student learning achievement and data, we wanted to focus our action step on implementing measures of academic progress, which is the MAP assessment across grades K through 9. We're in a year when we don't have a lot of data to go from. We did not have MCAS, and we don't know, we know that MCAS is scheduled for the spring, but we're not sure whether it will actually happen. So having a normed adaptive assessment is something that will help us show individual student growth as we move through 3 different administrations. And it will help us to understand some of the gaps and some of the loss of learning that may have happened over the course of our closure since March. We have started MAP testing, and so our status column here actually needs to be revised. This document was created a little bit before we started MAP testing, so so we'll change that and make sure that it's correct in the next draft. Under 1.2, which is establishing standards-based curriculum and assessment with vertical and horizontal alignment, we really want to focus on supporting the development of blended learning and the blended learning curriculum. And this is what we are using in hybrid. It's so brand new, it has to be a priority. We need to make sure that we are supporting teachers, that we are learning as much as possible about blended learning, about hybrid, how to support students who are learning remotely at home, online, and how to support students in the classroom at the same time. So we definitely know that that's a priority area. Under 1.3, which addresses the multi-tiered system of support, we feel that improving our student support teams at each school can allow for much better monitoring of student engagement in remote and hybrid settings. So that was our priority area. In 1.4, this is an area to focus on technology, and this will include understanding more about and improving our knowledge of educational technology apps like Schoology, and this will help with some equitable access for all students across the district and across all grades. In 1.5, which really focuses on professional development around teaching and learning, this gives us kind of the direct need for collaboration across grade levels and in schools. And we knew that that was a need. So we're supporting more work with PLCs, professional learning communities, instructional leadership teams, grade level teams. We want that collaboration time. And so we want to make sure that we're focusing on that. It is so key to blended learning, to hybrid model. And we saw that as a very important area to focus on. In 1.6, this is about evaluation, and so we felt that it was important to look at specific strategies to help engage students in remote and hybrid learning, and to incorporate that into the evaluation process. So those are our priority actions for strategic objective number 1, which really focuses on student learning and achievement. In strategic objective 2, which is about the increasing support of equity and access for all students, we have some priority areas as well. So in 2.1, which is about equitable access of the curriculum, we want to make sure that we are providing professional development on differentiation and something called UDL, which is Universal Design for Learning. And we know that that's very important when you are you're giving choice to students, especially when they are in an environment where there is more self-directed learning. So that is important for us to make sure that we are focusing on with our staff. In 2.2, which is about social and emotional learning, we will be implementing a universal screener to understand student levels of need and to help plan for more support. In the same strategic initiative, we also have another area action step that we felt was important, and that is to increase a tiered system of support to allow for more programming happening during the day. So that was another area, again, with SEL support to focus on this year. In Strategic Initiative 2.3, this focuses on culturally responsive, anti-biased curriculum practices. Here we really want to offer additional professional development for staff. We have a new anti-racist instructional leadership team, and we would love to have them work to help provide some of those PD offerings and professional learning for staff. In 2.6, we jumped to 2.6. This really does talk about student behavior and conduct. And we know that this needs to be a priority as we are following very new procedures and protocols. And it is important that our students understand our handbooks. They understand what needs to be done to keep their classmates and their teachers safe. And it's important that we really focus on this with regard to appropriate conduct and behavior in the time of COVID. So that is standard 2. Now, looking at strategic objective 3, this is securing and maximizing resources for the district. One of our priority areas in strategic objective number 3 is to actively participate in the town of Nantucket ad hoc budget group. And we know that we haven't had meetings with this ad hoc group in the past, or at least since I've been here. So we will be having one this year. So we felt that that was a good action step to highlight in the budget process and in ensuring sustainable sources of revenue and paying attention carefully to our budgeting for next year. In looking at 3.2, which is about recruitment of high quality staff and our need to increase diversity, we definitely want to make sure that our staff reflect our student body. So we will be looking at increasing and improving our diversity across our staff. In Strategic Initiative 3.5, which talks about district technology and the district technology plan, we really need to add more offerings to inform our parents and to assist our parents in becoming more technologically assistive, because they will be working with their children at home in hybrid and remote learning settings, particularly our younger children. But we want to make sure that they feel supported and that they have the tools that they need to be able to assist and partner with us as we educate children. And now moving on to strategic initiative number 4, which focuses on championing a culture of inclusion, collaboration, and communication. we have a couple of other priority areas. In 4.1, which is again about parent partnerships, we want to support and encourage parent partnerships with our schools because we know that they are taking on quite a bit of remote and hybrid learning. And we all need to support each other more anyway during this time. It's just important that lines of communication stay open and transparent, and that we do everything we can to communicate clearly with parents to provide feedback on student engagement and other areas as well. So that's definitely an area of priority for us. And then 4.4, which is to develop a stronger sense of community among district staff. We feel that it's really important to improve communication between administration and staff because stronger collaboration will provide also opportunities for celebration of success. And really in a time when things are so kind of in upheaval, success and celebration of any success is critical. We want to make sure that we really keep that in mind. It's so important that we celebrate what we are able to improve upon, what we are able to do, especially because this is so new and so challenging. And all I can say is I hope that this is something that we can look forward to celebrating. So the next steps that we have with the district improvement plan is obviously we have shared with you today. We want to also share with staff at each school. So principals and assistant principals will be sharing with their staff. School council will also take a look at the district improvement plan, and obviously parent and community advisory committee, we want them to also have a chance to review. We expect that the school improvement plans and administrator goals will also align with this plan, and we know that some of the action steps in here also may align with some of the educator goals as they start their goal setting for the educator evaluation cycle that's beginning now. And we feel that things that we've put in here will tie nicely into some of these some areas for goal setting. So I am happy now to answer any questions that you may have about the document or about any of the priority areas.
Thank you, Beth. Zona, would you like to go first?
I want to say thank you, Beth, for the update. It looks great. I appreciate it. It's always something that I like to see with the statuses specifically, but your explanation for each item was fantastic. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Steve.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Beth, who the we is you keep referring to. Hopefully you had help with this, because all I can do is compliment you on getting in all of the new and unanticipated areas that have come up with this COVID and hybrid learning. I can't pretend to have made a list, but I picked up on each of those things as they were mentioned: Schoology and social concerns, trauma concerns about our kids, etc. It really looks to me like a lot of work went into bringing this up to our new normal. God, I hate that phrase, but that's what it is. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And if I'll just address the we, it's the district leadership team. They have worked very hard with this document, and I want to give a shout out and a thank you, especially to the two curriculum directors who did a lot of wordsmithing for us as we were putting this together. So and it flowed well because, again, we had already established the district improvement plan umbrella, so to speak, with last year and with the other pieces that were already in place for all 3 years. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Tim.
I'm impressed by the work that went into it, and we'll see how it works out. It always looks good on paper.
It's true. Thank you.
Just my comments. Thank you for explaining the bold type, because that was going to be one of my questions. I found myself focusing more in section 2.1, 2.2, the social emotional piece of supporting our students through not only the education piece, but also just with what's going on. I mean, with the situation of being remote. So I was happy to see that. I'm also happy to see with the diversity that we are, you talk about really focusing on bringing teachers in who look like our students. And I have said this before and I'll say it again, and not to say we don't, but until we as a collective unit in education start speaking to students in kindergarten and at elementary age, that they can be superintendents and they can be teachers and they can be doctors and they can, we're doing a disservice if we don't continue and really support those conversations. So recently I got an email to students and I was CC'd on it from Mandy Vassell, and I was happy to see that we're still connecting students to LaSalle College. So that's great. But anyway, that's where my focus was on this. So thank you so much for your explanation, Beth. I do have a question, and maybe I'll ask it now because I don't know where else it would come up. Would it be staff meetings where staff would be able to talk about what's working and what isn't working? Or are the principals sort of reaching out to staff to say, connect with me if, to give me feedback on how it's going? Or because I think that's an important piece now that we've got students back in the school, that we need to hear from our teachers and school staff.
Absolutely, staff meetings. That's where a lot of that happens. We have EWDs also that might focus on that. We have built in professional learning community meetings. So PLC meetings are happening weekly. And that's where a lot of that is happening as well. Grade level team meetings as well. That structure, that team structure is really providing the support and the collaboration. So, is it enough? Probably not. And it's never enough. But the fact of the matter is we are also finding that teachers are also finding their own ways to collaborate and to share. And it is important that we have their feedback. It is challenging. This is a very, very difficult model, and we don't have a lot of expertise to go on, so to speak. Again, pretty much the whole world is trying things like this, and until we all get through it and learn how to use it, it will just be so we just need to have some patience and continue to share and collaborate and talk about what works and what doesn't. So that, and principals, you can certainly jump in if you have anything to add.
I don't see any principals with a hand up, but I do see, Mandy, yes.
I would just add that I think that what we've been doing at the high school, I can't speak for the others, is we have offered those opportunities in both venues during our faculty meetings, EWD, but we've also asked teachers to reach out and send, email. We're happy to have face-to-face conversations. I know that at the high school, we've talked as we've done our goals meetings, some of those same things have come up. And one of the things that I think we're trying to stress, and I think we've done this district-wide, because I know we had this discussion during our leadership team meetings, that their professional practice goals should be around the transition of hybrid learning and hybrid instruction practices, and using Schoology, so that we're not adding something else to them, but it's something that they're doing anyway. So let's build your professional practice goals around that, so that we're basically doing two things at once. So I think that the teachers have been appreciative of that, or at least the conversations that I've had have worked out really well around that particular area.
Great, thank you, Mandy. Mike.
Yeah, it's great feedback, because we've been so busy so far that the agendas of most of these meetings that Dr. Hallett referred to are probably driven by me, because there's just some must-do topics to address and bring up and work with the staff. Something that Tracy, Adrian, and I did early on, and we need to get back to it, is to ask staff about every other week, what are things that we are doing well? What are things that we need to improve on? And what are things we need to do less of? Or something to that effect. What do we need to do more of? What are we about right? And what do we need to do less of? And thank you for bringing this up, Pauline, because as we're on the eve of this cohort B and C coming back next week at CPS, I hope that we can kind of settle and get into a good routine and get into like a regular practice of having more of these discussions driven by the staff from the ground up.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Zona, I saw your hand up. Did you have a question or a comment? You're muted, Zona.
Yes, I did. I wanted to ask a quick question, I guess, and it goes to all schools, and maybe Dr. Hallett can answer that. And I know due to privacy issues, I don't want specifics. I just want an overview. Have we had to send anyone home? Have we had issues with wearing the masks?
We have, I believe, one or two students who are unable to wear masks, and we don't require masks in pre-K, but we strongly suggest, and I will tell you that those pre-K students are doing a fantastic job wearing their masks. They really are. We do have a couple who are unable to wear masks either for a physical disability reason or other, but we are working with them, working with the staff who work with them to make sure that they are safe. So,
thank you.
Sure.
That's great. Thank you, everybody. Okay, Beth, sorry.
So just in finishing up with the district improvement plan, I just wanted to say that at this point, we turn it over to you for a vote for approval. That doesn't necessarily need to be tonight, of course, but for next week, we hope we can get that on the agenda, the next school committee meeting. Great. Yep. So I will move on to the next piece, which is negotiations for facilities and the teaching assistant units of the NTA. We will be starting negotiations this year for teaching assistants and custodial units. And I've reached out to the NTA co-presidents and suggested that we start our negotiations mid-November so that we can give ourselves time to tackle the return to in-person learning. And I think they agreed that would be all right, I hope. And we will start with the teaching assistants first and move into the custodial CBA after that. And so we will be putting together a subcommittee meeting with school committee members who are part of that to plan. And we hope that it will be a smooth process. So that's all I've got. I don't know if there are any questions about that. I believe that it is Dr. Lepre and Mr. Sordovic who are part of that subcommittee. So I will be reaching out soon to set up a meeting.
Great. And I see Steve has his hand up.
Yep, I just wanted to say, I want to remind our bargaining team that my goal is to have these done by Christmas. Now, I know I say that every year, but I'm hopeful this year that we can get them done quickly.
We will do what we can.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so, continue, Beth.
Sure. So the last item I just wanted to share was that the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents and the Massachusetts Association of School Committees usually does an annual joint conference, which I've attended along with Chair Proch and Mrs. O'Connor. But regrettably, due to the limits on gatherings, they are unable to hold a live conference. So they have canceled it this year. It was supposed to be held actually November 4th through 7th. However, they are going to be having a delegate assembly, and certainly school committee members can be part of that, and they will be forwarding details about that. You may have already received some of that. As an alternative, they are planning to do a series of programs and workshops that can be done online. So that means you would have the ability to sit quietly in your home or wherever you wanted and be able to participate in any of these workshops. So I certainly encourage you. I will hopefully be attending some of those workshops. There will be professional development training programs as well, and these are all without free of charge. So hopefully we will have some of the content that they were hoping to give us in November, but we will be able to reach that content and take advantage of that in the next few months. Obviously, it's not the same. The conference is always a great place to meet people, to learn from others in Massachusetts, and hopefully we'll be able to have one next year, is my hope. But I'll certainly pass on that information to you as soon as we get it, and I know you're also getting it also from Mask. So,
thank you.
and that's all.
Beth.
Sure.
Steve, you have a question?
I do, unrelated, but pressing, it seems to me, since we're bringing cohorts B and C into the middle school and the high school on Monday. Where are we at on busing? Does it look like we're going to have to be staggering openings, or I know Martin's next on the list and he's sort of been involved too. So I'm asking both of you where we're at on that.
I will start, and then Martin, you can finish. Martin and I have been working hard with Linda Barrett, who has been frantically moving and really trying to streamline some of our bus routes, because we do have students who are somehow escaped our knowledge, and they are beyond the 1.5 miles. So we are looking carefully at a double route for high school, because high school has the ability to get there a little bit early, and Mrs. Vassal and Ms. Saradelis are able to have a small group of students in the cafeteria on the early side to be able to allow for the bus to be disinfected and go back out to pick up. So we think that we're in a pretty good place with regard to being able to bus those students who have a need. It is a challenge, and we hope that over time, as the cases remain low, that perhaps one of our bus drivers might like to return and perhaps drive for us. We hope that that will come, and in the meantime, we will do everything we can to make sure our students can get to school. Donut.
You have a question?
Oh, no, I'm chipping in from the Cape Collaborative side because I'm on that subcommittee. It's my understanding that we had, and I've been, missing in action sometimes. So it's my understanding we have 10 buses, of which now they have 8 drivers. Is that my understanding? And that we can, and they're still looking diligently at trying to find drivers. And they've even gone so far as to, rent an apartment or a place to the island to stay. A question I'm just seeking clarification on. At the meeting, it was mentioned that 23 students are on a bus at any given time. Is that a true statement? Is that a fact? Okay.
That is a true statement. That is with the distancing put out by the Department of Education. So that is what they're following. And I believe that we only have 4 buses in rotation right now with 4 drivers. We had 8, but 4 of them. And Martin, please correct me. I may be wrong.
We have 4 of the 7. Good evening, everyone. We have 4 of the large buses driving, and the small ones are driving as well. The number of drivers on it, though, to answer your question, includes a driver that's a backup driver, and his availability is limited in some afternoons in the week, so that creates additional challenges for the transportation coordinator here for the island, Linda Barrett, who's done a great job with these cohorts, because there has been movement between some of the cohorts. There has been students that haven't showed up initially for the bus, but lately have started showing up to the bus stops, because we hold a spot for them. So it's essential for us to drive up to capacity, at least because we have waiting lists right now. At every school, there are waiting lists, and the moment, as Dr. Khaled just mentioned, the moment we have an additional driver, we go to these waiting lists and try to transport as much children as possible on school bus transportation.
Okay, so you are, and the driver I mentioned that was just hired, that is moving to the island just to drive the bus, Is he counted in there?
Yes, he is.
Thank you.
Could I just say thanks then to Jen and Mandy for working something out at the high school to ease the stress of this a little bit. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Steve. And yeah, thank you, Jen and Mandy. Okay, anything else, Dr. Hallett, that you'd like to know? We can go on to Martin's report of the first quarter. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you. Good evening again. It's the first quarter, as you will see from the charts that were distributed in your packets, is total expenditures are a little over $993,000 down from last year at this particular time. I will go in a little bit in detail about this. It's a timing difference. 21% of total budget is expended or committed at this point, because this includes purchase order or encumbrances as well, and as compared to 25% last year. Payroll is the biggest portion of this decrease, $766,000. It shows as a smaller amount due to the fact that last year we broke payroll into 27 periods, and the way it works in accordance with the teachers, and in the past 2 years the teaching assistants contracts, they have a choice at the beginning of the year whether they want to split their payroll into 22 periods, which is the length of the school year, or 26 periods, which covers the summer months when the schools are closed. And over 85% of the teachers choose the option to have a constant stream of income and split their payroll over 26 weeks. Last year was an odd year, and we sat down with the payroll administrator and Veronica Boycheva and decided that we're going to split the payroll in 27 periods, because otherwise we would have had a prepayment of sorts, meaning the first fiscal year check for the year would have occurred 2 weeks prior to the start of school year. So in doing that, we ended up with accruals. And the way the accruals work is at the end of the fiscal year, which ends on June 30th, we have to accrue for the payroll that's going to occur in the summer months, and that we have to send back to that fiscal year that's being closed. And I apologize if my explanation is over. I'm not trying to be overly complex, but that's the way it works. That's due to the fact that the school year and the fiscal year don't coincide. So this year we had 5 accruals. For the summer, usually we have 4, which is usually 2 in July, 2 in August. This year we had 5 accruals that we had to do, meaning for those particular teachers that chose the option of 27 in last year's case payrolls, we took that payroll, and through journal entry we send it back to the previous fiscal year. So this is the reason behind this. This is a timing difference. This, as you'll see by my second and third quarter reports, as the year progresses, this number will disappear, and we will have an increase in payroll in this fiscal year over last year, which is the logical part. Just this year, due to timing differences, that's an oddity, and it happened, like I said, because last year was one of those strange years where we had to encumber, where we had to do the payroll split in 27 periods. Other than that, obviously, other expenses that this year are down. I can give a lot of examples. One of them is athletics travel. Last year, we had over $145,000 expended or encumbered, committed in the form of contracts for transportation of our athletic teams for the year. This year we have 0, because so far we don't know when or if at all we'll have a need for transportation and athletics travel. So those are some of the things that are causing these discrepancies. Again, as the year progresses and as we return, and I hate this term as well, Steve, as much as you do, as we return hopefully closer to normal, we anticipate that the expense will catch up, and this is just a timing difference at this point. I can pause for questions. This is the operating side of the budget. Next is the community school. So if anybody wants to ask questions at this point, you're seeing on the charts that we what I just spoke about these decreases, but they are not, in my opinion, they are not actual decrease. They are just timing differences.
I'm actually going to have you just go through your presentation, Martin. For one of the reasons I can't see my full screen, so I can't see if anybody has questions, but I think it's just best if you just keep going. Thank you.
Okay, the community school, we did talk with Tracy about how to present the community school this year, because obviously any kind of comparison of this fiscal quarter to last year's fiscal first quarter would not present any kind of trend or anything. They won't make sense. As you can see, I've given you some numbers. The declines in revenues, they're anticipated. It's about $350,000. There are obviously corresponding declining expenses as well, as due to reduction of staff, due to cancellation of programs, supplies, materials, equipment not being purchased, and things like that. But what I got from Tracy and Katie was a great 2-page document that I can go over in more detail at the meeting to present the picture of what it really looks like. Because, like I said, numbers in this case, in this particular case, just don't do justice, and it makes no sense to even go over these comparisons. This year, it's been very challenging. I mean, starting with cancellation of programs. Driver's ed program is one example I'm going to use. There were no driving lessons between March and June. Then there was a backlog of students that have already registered for those months, and then registration for new driving lessons had to be closed for the first quarter of this year to accommodate the people that were on a waiting list, waiting between March and June. So that creates all these backups and shortage of revenues, and also a lot of refunds being issued by the community school. I mean, the refunds issued by the community school as of July 1st this year compared to the previous year were over $100,000 more. And that's normal. I mean, we had no summer camp. Summer camp this year was limited. I mean, it's not that we didn't have it. We didn't have it to the extent possible that we usually do. And the community school did a great job under the circumstances, but we would have had probably 2.5 times higher revenues in a normal year from summer camp. Swimming lessons, another example. They have swim team revenue is down due to reduced capacity. The swimming pools are not accessible to the public over the weekend. There are numerous cases there, but as you see, there is corresponding decrease in salary expenses as well, as there is in obviously in revenues. Adult education also couldn't have much of their largest classes. The ESOL program, which is one of the largest courses in adult education, the journeyman and master electrician course were switched to other schools, and QuickBooks course, which I personally was part of 3 years ago, and it has been very successful for the community school, could not be held. So again, these are just examples of revenue shortfalls. What else? What you don't see here usually, and that's a question for the school committee as well, if you want me to talk about it in future meetings, is the recreation revolver. As you all know, we go on a yearly agreements with the town to use this revolver. This is not a school revolver. This is a town-controlled revolver. It's in a separate fund from the community school, so it has its own fund balance. This year, they actually did very well due to the fact that a lot of private clubs for tennis were closed. So they ended up bringing in court rental income upwards of $45,000 in comparison to last year, which was over $24,000. And also they, so that revolver in particular did great due to shortage of courts available, and they did great with the private lessons as well. So that's a picture of all the different departments, if you wish, or different revolvers within the community school. I can open it up for questions. You said at the end, and at the end, obviously. Anyway, so we wouldn't be able to do anything this year without the generosity of a lot of organizations. I mentioned it at the end of year report for last fiscal year, and I'm going to mention it again. There are numerous organizations on the island who, without their support, I don't know where the community school as a whole will be. They include the Nantucket Golf, the Nantucket Education Trust, the Nantucket Golf Club Foundation, Community Foundation for Nantucket, the Remain Nantucket, and a lot of private citizens who have been extremely generous, and they help maintain the quality of the programs at the community school, and also have kept actually the community school afloat for the past 7 months. And that's what I have for the community school at this point. I want to express gratitude to the patience of everybody, and the great work that's being done by the community school director, Tracy Roberts, and her whole team. They've remained very committed and dedicated in light of very, very challenging environment, and they've done a great job. And I'm hopeful again that very soon we'll not be talking about the new normal. We'll be back to leading our lives the way they should be. School lunch program ended up with a deficit the month of September, obviously only 2 weeks of operation. We didn't have to expend that much money for inventory. Usually the first invoice we get is covers the months of August and September, meaning in preparation for reopening the schools, we go, the program starts buying inventory to prepare for the opening of schools. This year, the late opening, 16th of September, and other payroll related savings on the side of Chartwells have led to the subsidy to a deficit of a little over $30,000 as compared to over $41,000 a year ago. As you will see, I didn't go, there are no percentages and no comparisons to do. There is no sales revenue. This fiscal year, as you might be aware, all school lunches and breakfast will be free for all students of Nantucket Public Schools. The USDA gave a recommendation which DESI is following up on, and right now, originally it was supposed to be until the end of the calendar year, which is December 31st, but they extended that last Friday, I believe, until June 30th, 2021, which means that we have to be prepared for an increased demand of school lunches and breakfast, because we might see that at the schools, and that's great. We won't have any sales, obviously, as sales revenues. We will have reimbursements, and the federal reimbursements for lunch is $364, and reimbursement for a free breakfast is $189. And in the month of September, in the 2 weeks that we operated in September, through the food truck, which we are currently renting again from Island Kitchen, we distributed 663 lunches and 644 breakfasts. And just the last note about the school lunch this year, you will see there is a substantial increase in the budgeted subsidy. Last year it was $55,000. This year it's close to $85,000. And this is due to the fact that Chartwells, we could not, we negotiated back and forth in good faith, but it's a very difficult environment. So we couldn't make any kind of forecasts for a year that's developing to be a unique year and very challenging year, both for us and for any kind of businesses such as Cape Cod Collaborative that we just talked about, or Chartwells. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Martin. Zona, questions, comments?
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Zona would get into this, because she understands it a lot better than I do, if I understand it at all. Do you think, Martin, that the community school projected for the year is going to run a deficit that we're going to have to find a way to help with?
It's difficult to say, Steve. I mean, you obviously see that both sides of the coin have been reduced, both revenues and expenses. Whether we'll we'll be able to break even for the year. Again, will depend very much on all these donations that have been coming, and they've helped immensely throughout the year, and also to how the next 3 quarters perform. If there is any development and additional revenue sources, I have to also say one thing I forgot. For instance, DanceWorks as a program is a major revenue generator, and this year it didn't start in the first quarter as usual due to lack of space, but space has been found, and my understanding is it's going to start this quarter, the second quarter. So we'll see how that affects the bottom line. As we'll extend it day as well, the revenues will come from extended day as well. I don't know at this point. I am personally, as a finance director, we have to prepare for the worst. So as you know, last year we ended up covering about $72,000 actually, to be precise, of that deficit, and we'll do our best to work with town as well, if possible, or on our own, to see and to make sure that the community school breaks even at the very least.
Thank you. Zona.
Sorry. Oh, since Steve mentioned my name, I just want to say this, and I said it before, and it wasn't discredit Tracy in any way. I talked about at the last meeting where we talked about the community school and the different things that weren't able to happen, is that we think outside the box a little bit. And Martin mentioned program. I did it as well about 3 years ago, and it's a wonderful program. And I can't see why that one couldn't have happened via Zoom. It's just like college. So that's something to think about. Is there still time to put that particular program on, to help with a little bit of the deficit? I mean, I think I'm pretty sure it costs, about $300 or whatever for the course. And it is such a great course. And the teacher, she was pretty awesome. And you have to be at your own computer. What better way to do that than to be on Zoom? And again, it's like a college course. So it's something to think about, Martin, and maybe, I just think that's something that could possibly happen and could possibly help with some of the deficit. But that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Zona. Tim, comments, questions?
Martin, you mentioned that the subsidy for meals was going to go up. Why is that going up?
The budgeted subsidy on our end has gone up for numerous reasons. There is inflationary pressures, obviously, that are happening, and due to the fact we couldn't reasonably forecast sustainable revenues, we needed to increase the subsidy on our end to make sure the Chartwells is whole. I don't anticipate it to be that high. Honestly, my thinking is it's going to run anywhere between $55,000 and $60,000 at tops. But we had to budget on the basis of the information we had in February. And if you remember, that was the last full month prior to school closures that we had. And when we were working with the district manager for Chartwells, we went back and forth about it. I said, well, this is not a realistic month to budget on, because you have a week of vacation. It's a short month to begin with. It's difficult, but we did extrapolate the days and the sales per day and everything else. And we tried to come as close as possible to anything realistic. We just couldn't project the revenues in any kind of financially sound way, for a lack of a better word, at the time to come to an agreement to have a lower subsidy. This is a limit. This is not a subsidy that we pay no matter what. This is a limit up to where we can go with the subsidy. If the deficit is stays at what it is right now, a little under $31,000, that's all we cover.
Thank you.
Just a few comments. I was glad that you explained the payroll, 26 to 27 weeks. So thank you for doing that. And I think going on to community school, they've done a remarkable job with what has been given to them this year. And I would want to make sure that we give support to Tracy as she maneuvers through this year with the budget to see where there is support, so she's not feeling out on her own. But we don't want to lose the community school, and I worry about, you know, some of the deficits, whether it's been because there hasn't been space or because the numbers were low or whatever the reasons are. So I want to keep an eye on that, so that Tracy and the staff at the community school feel supported, and they know that we are recognizing them and the struggles that they're having. And kudos to them all for producing great programming through extremely difficult times. And you know, I am maybe a little bit more biased because I am familiar with the programming, but it is it's not an easy budget to manage at the best of times. So with COVID, it's just making it much harder. And my only other comment about the free lunch, and it's not about the finances really, it's just I am happy that we are continuing free lunch for everybody, because my biggest concern was that if we are delivering free lunch to a classroom of children, it's highlighting, if you're not all getting the same thing, then it's highlighting who's on free and reduced lunch. And I am always feeling protective of our students, and therefore I am very glad that everybody is getting the same thing and nobody is highlighted for getting a free lunch. So hopefully we can continue that, or if we don't, throughout the school year, we find a dignified way of providing lunch for our other students. That's all I have to say. So thank you, Martin, for a very detailed and long report. Steve, you have your hand up.
Yeah, and I have to make it a little bit longer because I forgot to ask, and this may be a question best addressed to Deborah. Have our off-island placements gone up as significantly as those line items seem to be? And what's likely to happen with those this year?
Hi, good evening. So yes, you noticed the increase in that amount. We had an instance with, of course, protecting student confidentiality. We did have, as a result of some movement to the island by families, who brought with them the need for these placements. So these were not kids that had been here that would be placed out of Nantucket Public Schools. They were coming here, and part of my job is to ensure that we offer the programming available to any student that comes in. And then if it's determined that it's not comparable programming, then they remain at the school of placement. So there can be at least 2 students that can account for that in the increase for this year. And again, part of my job is to actively work on seeing who we can bring back.
Well, then I guess the follow-up is with Martin. Do we have protections built in for that kind of a deficit, 41% over anticipated budget?
Yes, yes. To answer your question, yes, Steve, we do. We have the circuit breaker, which we get every year, and this year the amount is a little over $360,000, if I'm not mistaken. And then also we do have the SPED reserve account, which we established 2 years ago through an act of town meeting, in which we deposited back then $250,000, and it's exactly for a situation like the one you're mentioning. If we get a residential tuition, which is upwards of $200,000, that comes to us after the budget process, and we have nowhere else to go, we can use this funding with an approval vote from the select board and the school committee. Those are the only 2 requirements. We don't have to wait for annual town meeting. Annual town meeting was only necessary to establish the fund, and so.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, everybody. All right, I'd like to invite Kelly Cooney, who is our Director of ESL, to present next, please.
Good evening, thank you. I'll go ahead and start sharing now. Let's move this. Doop, doop. Oops, hold on. Having a little bit of a hard time seeing it. There we go. And can you see? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So good evening. My name is Kelly Cooney, and I'm the English Learner Director. And this is the English Learner Update that happens every fall. First of all, what's a little bit different this year, of course, is COVID and all of the safety protocols that we're following. And I have to say, I'm so happy to be in classrooms and seeing students happy to be back. And when I was visiting Miss Norton's classroom at CPS, I saw this sample, this poster that I'm showing you was made by our students in middle school. And I was just so amazed. It looks so professional. And I love that it's bilingual, that it's in Spanish and in Portuguese. So I just wanted to share that with you. Hold on. There we go. And next I wanted to kind of ground the presentation in another piece of student work, which is about being bilingual. All of our, from grades 1 to 12, all of the first units of the year are about the assets of being bilingual. This is to honor the funds of knowledge and bilingualism that all of our students bring to the classroom, all of our English learners, and also a way to let them.
Being bilingual is an asset because I can make friends from other countries. Another important fact is I have a higher percentage of possibilities to travel to other cities and feel happy. Also, my mind learns new things. Not only that, I can get a new and good job. My salary can be better. Furthermore, being bilingual is an asset because I can teach to my family. Also, I can watch movies and TV in other language. For example, I enjoy go to the movie theater. In addition, I can select and choose from a restaurant menu.
Thank you. So that's from Miss Townsend's class. This is our organizational chart for who's part of the English Learner Department. At NES, we have had no changes. We still have Nicole Ridge, Samantha Kodak, and Bessie Nacheva. At NIS, we also have had no changes. We're lucky to have Janet Giles back. She had a baby last spring, so it's glad to have her back in the building and working with us. Tina Fournier and Lauren Gabriel. And at Cyrus Pierce, we do have an addition. We have Jean Witt, who is an ESL teacher with us now. And we have Catherine Norton, who has been there for years. And we're very lucky to have both of them there. And at Nantucket High School, nothing has changed either. We have Joanna Townsend. Well, her last name did change. She got married over a year ago. Joanna Spring, formerly. So the name is now changed, but it's the same person. Devin Durand and Evelyn McGarren last year became part of our department as a bilingual TA. At the district level, we do have a few changes. We have welcomed Maria Madonia Gutierrez as our new district bilingual support specialist. And we still have Eileen Taverdes and myself. Oh, plus, sorry, I should go back there. Plus all core content teachers are SEI endorsed. And so really all of our teachers in the district are teachers of English language learners. This is another piece of student work. I think it's so cute. This is from first grade. And the assignment was about school tools. And then the student drew a picture of himself and drew a mask and then let the teacher know that masks are also a school tool. So it's just really cute to see that for the students, they're really resilient and they're really doing a great job in the classroom. They're excited to be back. Today was at the middle school and students told me that they love school and they're just so happy to see their friends. And it's just a really nice environment to be with our students. This is another piece of student work from our Assets of Being Bilingual. And it's a short video from the 4th grade. And I just think it's important to see how there's my dog, how proud our students are to be bilingual.
Being bilingual is awesome because my brain can think faster. Being bilingual means that I can speak 2 languages.
So now on to the enrollment data. I just wanted to share some student work and voices to really kind of ground the work for why we are here, and it's for our students. So our enrollment trends of English language learners, as we know over time, has increased this year, 390% increase. Our numbers are slightly down from a few years ago. We're at 265 as of this week. That said, our numbers are slightly down, even though we still have students registering who are English learners. They're down because we are getting a lot better at exiting students. So last year we had 50 students again who formally exited English learner status. So L enrollment per school at NES, of course, is where we have our largest concentration. The numbers from last year and this year both include pre-K, because as part of the Look law, we now include pre-K students in our L numbers. And overall, we have 265 English learners in the district. Enrollment figures per school are here, per grade. So we have 59 English learners in kindergarten, 39 in first grade, 32 in second grade. And then you can see that the numbers decline at NIS, and that's because the students who start with us in kindergarten by 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade are exiting the program. And then in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the numbers are still smaller. Some of those students are newcomers who arrive in 5th or 6th grade, and some students are long-term Ls. And then we see the same in the high school. Right now we have 20 English learners in 10th grade, and then only 6 in 12th grade. So that's kind of interesting. Our numbers at the high school have gone up slightly. And then multilingual students in Nantucket Public Schools is a different way to look at our data. So we have 38% of our students whose first language is not English. Of those students, about 12% right now are English learners, meaning that they're in the English learner program, and 14% are former English learners. And that 12%, I think, actually has changed since I made this chart a few weeks ago, because we were still identifying students and coding them as English language learners. Opt-outs are English learners whose parents have opted out of taking ESL. However, they are still English learners and they still take the access test. FELs are former English learners. They've exited, but they still may need supports. They just don't take ESL anymore. So these are our numbers of opt-outs and FELs at the various schools. So again, our former Ls are multilingual students. So a large percentage of our student body is multilingual. Some are in ESL classes and some are not. Country of origin of our English learners. Most of our English learners were born in the United States, followed by El Salvador and then the Dominican Republic. About 60% of our student body speaks English as their first language at home, and 40% of our students speak other languages. Of those other languages of our student body, Spanish is the most predominant, followed by Portuguese. And then you can see the rest of the numbers are quite small, the percentages. Proportionality in the English learner special ed world refers to having kind of a, or disproportionality is when it's in the negative, but luckily we're proportionate. We look for having the same percentage of students who have special needs, who are monolingual, who make up the student body as in the English learner program. So we've done a really good job if we look at our statistics at identifying our Ls with disabilities. If we look at our data, we could say that we don't over-identify or under-identify as compared to our monolingual population. Access data. So the only real state data we have this year is our access data, because as you know, students did not take MCAS in the spring, but our students did take access. Access is a test that is given to our English learners to measure their growth toward proficiency in English. Because in the ESL world, we are trying to accelerate the academic language achievement of our English learners so that they can leave the ESL classrooms and be concentrated in their core content rooms. So this test that comes from WIDA measures their proficiency levels. And then the state also measures what percentage of them are making progress on this test. And if you recall from last year and the former years that I've been here, I explained that this test is given in January, and it's given in 4 domains, meaning the students take a listening test, a speaking test, a reading test, and a writing test. And any one of those tests could be in the subject area of math or social studies or English or math, or what did I miss? History, science. So for example, the students might do a listening, a couple of tasks in listening, but listening about science, or they might have some speaking tasks about mathematics. So it's important that our students learn the academic literacies of all of their content areas so that they can progress in their English, their academic English. So we have made gains again in our access test in Nantucket, which is great. 64% of our students in 2020 made progress, which was up slightly from 2019. So we're very excited about that. And each of the other schools also saw a slight increase, remembering that those slight increases are really about a student or two. The percentage of students who reached attainment, meaning that they were able to exit ESL based on that access score, has also been steadily increasing. In 2020, it went down a little bit from 2019 overall, 3 percentage points, but still we're above the state average. And we're really excited about those numbers. Other news. So teaching ELs in a blended learning environment has been, it's been a transition for everyone. But in the ESL department, we've been doing blended learning. Granted, all of the students were in the room before, but we've been doing it for a while now because the test that our students take from 1st grade through 12th grade in the 4 different domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing is given on a computer. So we've always had classrooms where one group of students might be on the computer doing a speaking task, while another small group might be in front of their teachers with getting a targeted mini lesson. So I thought I would just share this example playlist to let you know what's happening. This is what our students would see. This last column over here was created just for, this is our teacher, Jessica Townsend at the high school, shared this in a professional development at the high school. And of course, this blue box up here was also written for teachers, not for the kids. But otherwise, the students get a list like this, and it will tell them who and what are they doing and how long it should take. And with these activities, when they click on these boxes, it opens up to another window in their computer that has the content. So this is what a playlist is. And this is what our students receive. That helped, sorry, that's my dog, Suki. This is what the students receive, and whether they're in the classroom or not in the classroom, all the students follow this, and the teacher, but the students who are in the classroom will group them, and maybe all the students will be doing one of these activities at the same time, or at some point the students at home might do something slightly differently. So as difficult as blended learning is, in some ways it's kind of allowed for us to have a little bit more freedom with students and who is doing what tasks, and it allows us to differentiate, because this playlist might look a little bit different depending on who you are in my classroom. I can add in modifications or supports into these hyperlinks that are blue. So, oops, hold on. So we have had a PD thus far at NIS and NHS about blended learning and English language learners. And those PDs were co-led by the ESL teachers in those buildings. So that was really exciting to have PD that was offered with me and the ESL teachers to kind of help other teachers understand how we can support ELs through our playlist and in blended learning. We also have professional development happening right now. It's a collaboration between the SPED and the English Learner Department. We have teachers and counselors and our chairs, SPED chairs, taking a PD through West Ed right now. It's a blended PD and it's about educating ELs with disabilities. We also have in our ESL team, we're still continuing with our next gen ESL and the language of goal setting, reflection, and self-advocacy. We'll be working with a consultant in a few weeks, and we're really excited to be doing that. We have 2 other initiatives to support becoming an anti-racist district that we're really excited about. Dr. Hallett had mentioned them when she was going over the DIP. One of them is we have a transforming curriculum with an anti-racist lens PD that will be starting in November. And it will be led by Dr. Claudia Foxtree-McGrath. And she's an educator, and she's been doing anti-racist work for 25 years. So she'll be working with us to learn a little bit about kind of terminology and kind of exploring our own, where we are as anti-racist, and then also helping us look at our curriculum and to start transforming it in places where we feel like we are comfortable and where we have a sphere of influence. We also this year have an anti-racism instructional leadership team, and the posting was for 1 representative per school, 2 TAs and 1 coordinator. And as of today, we have applications for representatives from NES, NIS, and CPS. We don't have one yet from the high school, so we're just waiting on that. Otherwise, I think tomorrow or Monday, we'll be moving forward with notification of who has been selected. And there's also a TA, 1 TA, so we might move one of the positions, and a coordinator. So the idea is to have our educators lead this work with supports from Deborah Gately and I as district supports, but they will be continuing their education a little bit about how to be an ally, and then also deciding what our this year's plan will be, and also kind of thinking about a timeline for the next couple of years. What will this anti-racism instructional leadership team look like? How do we involve students? How do we involve the community? And we'll be identifying our objectives soon, and so we'll report back to you about that. What else is new? We have new goals this year that are kind of exciting. We've decided to focus on social emotional learning and the language of social emotional learning. So social emotional learning is kind of vast in some ways. We've narrowed down our focus in ESL to the language of goal setting, self-reflection, and self-advocacy, because that's hard to do in a second language. When you goal set, you need to be able to reflect on where you are, and that includes the past tense, which can be complicated linguistically, and then goal setting, you switch to the future tense. So we'll literally be working on the language of that to really be able to empower our students to have some agency in their learning. And the other thread is advocacy, and we'll really be teaching our students how to advocate for themselves so that they also can take more responsibility in their learning. And in a lot of the research that's coming out about COVID and remote, it really focuses on SEL and on these areas that we need our students to be able to be empowered to take more ownership for their own learning. So we're really excited about that. And as I mentioned, we have a consultant from WIDA, Ruslana Westerlund, who will be working with us in a few weeks on that. We also have Imagine Learning, which we just launched this year. And it's a computer program that both teaches students, so it's kind of cute. There will be little videos with real humans, students and teachers talking about mini lessons related to the Common Core standards or the Massachusetts state standards. And then there is also a cartoon, and the cartoon speaks in the home language of the students. And so the students are getting mini lessons through a computer program. And then it's kind of each student takes a test. So it takes them through where they are to their next level. And the students think it's really fun. They think it's a game. And the program also at the same time tracks data. So we have in the moment data of where our students are and how much they're growing. So we're really excited to have that this year. We're really fortunate that we were able to get it. And this is one last picture also from our first unit this year. And it's from Ms. Fournier's class at NIS grade 5. And this is a student, and they too have little masks on and exploring who they are. So I want to try harder this year. I'm a Portuguese boy who speaks 3 languages. I look forward to seeing my dad. I'm from Brazil. I'm hoping that I will be good at English, etc. So it's really cute to see our students happy back in school, proud to be bilingual, and excited about learning. So that's the last slide. And now it's a thank you. And do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Kelly. I always love your presentations and really I look forward to seeing the statistics and all of the programs that you're doing. So it's awesome. Thank you. Let me go to Zona first.
I reiterate what Pauline said. Thank you, Kelly. It's always very enlightening and entertaining with your presentations. And I'm happy to see the topics being addressed and the anti-racism topic being dealt with. So thank you again for that, and kudos to you and your students.
Thank you. Steve.
Yeah, ditto, and great data as usual. I have one curiosity question on the growth of your program in the last 10 years or so is what I look at, has obviously been huge. Do you attribute that to an increase in this population or to our growing focus on the importance and the needs here, or both?
I think that the trends of English learners in our school systems in Massachusetts, it's the same crazy chart throughout the whole state and throughout the country. So what we've seen kind of more drastically in the past 5-6 years is these places like Nantucket and others smaller, used to call them low incidence places like suburbs. We're seeing more and more English learners. So it is a trend that's happening in the state and across the country. That said, asking about the identification and cleaning up systems, I think that accounts for a small part of it. Just that we definitely have put systems into place to make sure that we're identifying our students in a timely manner as per federal and state laws.
Oops, sorry. I ask because I'm always pleased to be able to tell people how much I believe we've increased our focus on these populations during the past few years. I think it's still 10 years rather than the 4 or 5 you're talking about. But it pleases me. Please keep it up. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. We're really grateful. The ESL team here is really remarkable. They're super dedicated, really smart. They're always learning, willing to try new things. This field has changed a lot in the last 10 years. There's a lot more research about how to teach English learners. So we're really fortunate to have them.
Thank you, Steve. Tim.
Kel, I wonder, you showed a number of students in the high school that were L's. What do you think the prognosis is, that they will become proficient or drop out?
You are always so astute, Doctor. So yesterday I attended a webinar with the Department of Ed, and unfortunately they didn't share their PowerPoint slideshow in time because I was going to add something. Their focus this year is on high school. So at the state level, they are worried about the achievement, the percentage making progress on access of English learners at the high school level, and they're also deeply concerned about dropout rates. So they're going to start doing a lot more studies to figure out why they're dropping out. Some hypotheses that we discussed yesterday were like the MCAS for graduation requirement. And we know we run into that here. Some of our students who come in older, who have to pass this test in English, it's definitely a deterrent. Some of our students choose to instead work because they don't really see any light at the end of the tunnel. So that is a focus with the state, which is fortunate because then that means they'll be doing more research and they'll be giving more supports to us so that we can work on that in our buildings. That said, with the LaSalle program that we're continuing for the third year this year, definitely we will be recruiting still English learners. We haven't had any English learners take advantage of it yet, or former English learners, so we still need to work on that. And with the innovation pathway, I think that we do have some kind of differentiating at the high school that I hope will continue to keep our students involved. And it's also in our district improvement plan to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students and that we have different pathways for different students. So it is something that we're continuing to work on. And again, it's a work in progress at the state as well. So it's not unique to Nantucket. That said, I'm not making excuses. It's definitely an area for us to focus. During COVID, it's extra hard, as you know. So our teachers, core content teachers and ESL teachers are working overtime to make sure that our students are engaged. And also our interpreters are working overtime, calling families and finding out if people aren't logging in, why. Is it a tech reason? Is it social emotional? So we've really been working overtime, making sure that we're engaging all of our students. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I think it's looking good. I have hope. I think that we're doing good things in Nantucket. I'm excited that we're continuing with LaSalle. The LaSalle program as it is, our students take a 1-credit class. And as we know, last year we mentioned that LaSalle has expanded from just exploring careers and education to now communications, the fashion industry, psychology. I might be missing another one. And then last week, Mandy Bassel at the high school just wrote a memorandum of understanding to be part of a grant that LaSalle is applying for with the state that just this year, just this spring semester would offer, if LaSalle is awarded it, we're a partner, it would offer free college classes, real college classes to juniors and seniors in next January to June. And it's an attempt, the state had money and they want to make sure that, and it's for students of color, and to make sure that our students have opportunities to keep them focused on college and to give them some opportunities to get some credits, since, in a lot of places we're remote anyway. So I think that's kind of the idea of the state offering that grant to the university, which now has offered it to us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. That's great information. Kelly, what causes a student to choose to be a FEL? If they're not
a FEL, they don't choose. They have to get a 4.2 on access and a 3.9, I think, overall in literacy. And we look at their data, plus we look at their other data. So if you had that score, for example, Pauline, we would also look at your ELA and your math data, and as a team decide if we think you definitely have enough English to be able to excel in the core content classes without the addition of ESL. Opt-out, however, is a little different. That's when a family will opt a student out of ESL. And for different reasons. Sometimes families might feel like it was a misidentification and they think that their student has enough English. We just have a few kids, like I think I could go back to that slide, but just a few kids at the elementary and middle school level. At the high school level, I think most of our opt-outs are either kids who are duly identified, they have special needs as well, and or they're students who are in the program so long that they just want to be in the regular core classes. So those are called long-term Ls.
Okay.
And sometimes
that's what I meant. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That is what I meant, not choosing to be a FEL. And can you talk through a little bit about the percentage of students who reached attainment. I'm looking at, I just want to make sure I understand it properly. From 2020 to 2029, I mean 2019 rather, we look like we've got a significant change at CPS. We went from 19% in 2020 from 32 in 2019. I'm wondering, is that partly because students were part of 8th grade maybe and moved out? We've got a similar change at the NIS at 38% from 2020, 43% in 2019.
So first of all, just those percentage numbers, while I like to celebrate them when they're in the other direction, it's really just a couple of students. So it's kind of cohorts come through, and I think I could look at the data. I'd have to drill down at the student level, but sometimes it also depends in the school at a certain time, how many kids are even at that cusp, right? So it's just kind of like how the trends go. Like if we have a big infusion of newcomers, then we wouldn't expect the percentage of fellows to be as high. So there's also just kind of that trajectory. But each one of those percentage points is just a couple of students. So 3 students could make the difference between a 3% swing. So it's not as big as it seems because the population is small.
Okay, thank you. And I'm thrilled about the anti-racist curriculum. First of all, when you were speaking, I was misunderstanding and I thought it was just your EL students were taking it. And I was like, well, everybody needs it. Then
Sorry. Yeah, no, we have
no,
teachers.
it was me.
Yeah.
It was me, not
Sorry. No, I think I wasn't clear. We have 30 teachers are enrolled in the class, and the bulk are from elementary and CPS, and we have a few teachers from the high school as well. And we're just super excited. It also feeds into our district improvement plan, not only to become culturally relevant and anti-racist, but also we have in our district improvement plan to start like a curriculum review, a self-assessment review to see where our curricula are. So this will really empower some of our teachers to start looking at our curriculum with a critical stance, really kind of thinking, how are we empowering our students to have critical stance, to be agents of change, also to look at what texts we're offering students, as well as our practices. Because in truly anti-racist pedagogy, it's not just about the content, it's about high expectations and high supports. Sometimes high supports means that we do things differently than we've done in the past, but we always have the high expectations and standards-based learning at the grade level. It's just that we might think outside of the box, for example, with programs like the LaSalle program or the Innovation Pathway.
Yeah. Well, and I also was looking at that young man who had put his face, he'd drawn his face and saying he speaks 3 languages. I mean, there's such an opportunity to highlight our EL students of being bilingual, because I'm pretty sure that there's a large percentage of our English language speakers that do not speak another language. And that's really something to celebrate, to be able to speak 2 and 3 languages as well.
We will be working on the seal of biliteracy this year as well. So that will be kicking off soon. So that will include our English first speakers who become proficient in a second language and our English language learners. So we'll be continuing that work to see where we are, to see if we can get our program aligned and our students they have to take tests at a certain level to them to be able to get a seal on their diplomas. That will be starting soon.
Certainly something to celebrate. Thank you so much for all of your work. And I know you've got a terrific team behind you, but it really is, it's heartwarming to see all of the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Hallett, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, if I may, through the chair. I wanted to thank Kelly for her leadership. Having done what she does in my former life, I know the challenges that she faces regularly, and the data that Nantucket shows is very much attributed to her leadership. So I wanted to thank her. And I need to apologize as well, because I did not include a thank you to her with the district improvement plan. She has put a lot of energy into the district improvement plan with those areas, particularly of advocacy on anti-racism and anti-bias, and also throughout. So I thank you, Kelly, for your work with that. And I'm sorry that I didn't mention that earlier. It came to me afterwards. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. I'd like to invite Mrs. O'Connor, who under our agenda is the Records Access Officer, who will do a homeschooling report. Welcome.
Hello, wearing my next hat. I have put together the homeschooling report for you, and it mimics what you've seen for years. We're giving 3 years worth of the data so you can make the comparisons. And I thought actually that the homeschooling numbers might increase even more than they had, because if you see in 1819, there was only 1 student. In 1920, we had 3 students. And for this year, we have 13 students, but it is only 7 families. One family actually has 4 students that they are choosing to homeschool. And I didn't think that that was really as high, like I said, as might have been. There were a lot of people that inquired. We had a handful, maybe 4 or 5 very eager Beaver parents of pre-K students who thought that if they didn't have their children enrolled in school, that they had to homeschool them. So we assured them that that was not the case. And the way the process went, it really worked well, because you have a lot of people who know what they want to do, and they will go to the registrar now and they will say that they want to homeschool, they're choosing to withdraw. And Sarah Erickson, the registrar, will suggest that they please reach out to the superintendent's office. And pretty much everybody has done that. They contacted us, mostly via electronically and email, a few phone calls. Some people didn't really understand what they needed to provide, so I give them information. I offer them some options to look at. There are many more online programs now, obviously, that are available to families to use as a curriculum guide. And then what we ask them to do is to please provide us what they will be doing for their homeschooling. And then we send them an approval form, and we ask them if they, if they have done all of these pieces, the superintendent will sign acknowledgement. And then we ask them if they would do the same. And I just keep the records of those acknowledgement forms and those plans. So we had, like I said, a lot of people inquire, but then they chose not to follow through with that. And as far as I know, we don't have any missing children. And when I say that, meaning that they withdrew, or that they didn't withdraw, but decided to homeschool, and we don't necessarily know this because we wouldn't want to consider anybody truant, of course. So I think that the numbers, they really speak to the enrollment, because if you look how the enrollment has only moved slightly down, this kind of ties in. So
Yeah.
that is where we are with that. And I don't, if anybody has any questions that we might be able to answer.
Thank you. Zona, any questions?
I would say interesting. I would think the same thing, Logan, but if you have the facts, you have the facts. That's kind of good to see. Thank you for the report.
Sure.
Steve?
Yeah, I only wonder if you know, and you may not, of those who inquired but then chose not to homeschool, did they choose to go fully remote for the year?
That I don't know. I mean, I could go and seek that information out by looking through and talking to a registrar and things like that, but I didn't follow somebody that chose not to go that route.
Yeah, I was just curious. I don't want to add to your workload. Thank you. If you don't know, I don't know.
Thanks, Steve. Tim?
What about people that don't come in? Do we have an idea of the numbers that certainly are out there that are sort of under the covers?
You always have that possibility. And I think there might be one newer family that I have heard rumbling that we don't necessarily know of. But it's hard to capture if nobody's come and enrolled and nobody's made the inquiry, and they weren't in our district previously, it's hard to know. But the small community factor, I think in our case, helps to some extent, because everybody always knows someone, or they've heard something, or they heard someone make an inquiry about that. So I'd like to think that we've captured almost everybody, but you couldn't say 100% sure.
Capture is a very useful term there, Logan.
A little bit loaded. Thank you, Logan.
Thank you. I don't have any questions or comments. Thank you for providing that report. Yes, Sona.
I wanted to mention that I had asked that same question that Tim asked probably a couple of years back. We don't have what's called a truancy officer, do we?
Well, the SROs are so connected, and they know the families and the students, and Julie Kingston and the other social workers, the newer ones that are starting to learn. I think that they collectively all act in that role. I don't know that they would want to be labeled a truancy officer, but they're on it. So I think we're covered.
That was something I always was suspicious about. The kids that we know are in school, the kids that we know are homeschool, but what about the ones we don't know about? So
again, I think, small community, word of mouth, hope you can help them, hope you can find the kids that are off the radar, that type of thing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Logan, for your report. Moving on to votes. I would like a motion, please, to approve the donation from Robert J. Reed Jr. to Nantucket Community School for $5,000.
motion so moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. May I have your vote, please, Steve Sotovic?
Aye.
Thank you, Zona Butler.
Aye.
Tim Lepre
Aye.
and Pauline Proch, aye. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the donation of the Nantucket Golf Club Foundation to Nantucket Community School Breakfast Buddies Program in partnership with the Graceline Institute Grid 21 Team Program?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Steve, may I have your vote? Roll call.
Aye.
Thank you. Tim Lepre,
Aye.
Zona Butler.
Aye.
Thank you. And Pauline Proch, aye. We are going to table the school handbooks. Jen Iller reached out to me and noted that the policy committee hasn't met to go through that. And I did let Dr. Hallett know that. So we will table that to hopefully in the next meeting, because we realize it's important that the schools have their handbooks available.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I said thank you.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see you. I was on another screen. The joys of Zoom. May I have a motion, please, to accept October 6th meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Zona, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Tim Lepre,
Aye.
Steve Sotovic.
Aye.
Thank you. Pauline Proch, aye. May I have a motion to accept the transfers and invoices, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
May I have a second? Thank you, Zona. Tim, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Zona?
Aye.
And Steve?
Aye.
Thank you. And aye for Pauline Proch. All right, subcommittee work. I don't know if any subcommittees have met or been or Zooming. Anybody have any reports for that?
I'll just mention again that I met with Cape Collaborative Subcommittee last week and that they are working diligently, bus drivers. That's a priority for them. A lot of the other school districts are very surprised that Nantucket had as many buses as we have. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, it sounds
that's
like
all I
they
wanted to
added a
report.
little bit more. But thank you, Zona.
Mm.
Any other reports? No? Okay. Well, moving on to our student rep, Miss Amanda Mack.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Better
Okay.
tonight. Yes, thank you.
So the first thing is I think it was this past Tuesday, we had our virtual club fair, which was really successful. We currently have 25 clubs at the high school, which is really good for everything being virtual. So we made a slides presentation, and each club made their own slide, and we were able to share that with all the teachers and students. So they will have that, like even if they wanted to join later in the year or anything, that'll be available to everyone. And we also had the community school and the Boys and Girls Club participate in that. So that was really cool. And then intramural sports are also going on, and those are going really well. I would say I'm on the field hockey team. So personally on our team, everyone is very good about wearing masks and keeping distant and having fun. And then for seniors, we had, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, our senior seminar where the counselors came to talk to us about the college application process and just the steps that we need to take and make sure we're doing everything. And they're also going to be offering that presentation to parents. I don't know, I believe there will be a recording of it on the guidance website. So that's also really helpful. And that is about all I have for today.
Terrific. Thank you. I also want to let you know, Amanda, that anytime through any of the presentations that we have, if you have comments, and I should have called on you, but I would love to have your input and thoughts as we go through the different presentations during the meetings. So just to let you know that as well.
Madam Chair, may I do an in-house shout out before we disperse?
Please do.
Before he does that, sorry, I want to say welcome to Amanda. This is my first time seeing her. Amanda and I go way back. So it's always nice to see a familiar face, and welcome.
Thank you.
Is she a former cookie salesperson?
He is.
There you go. I want to give a shout out to Chris Morey. I wish he was here tonight. Not just for updating us regularly, but for the apparent success of all the sports that he's got going on. It's terrific. The only depressing part of his report, and I hope we can get this resolved soon, is that the only spectators allowed are parents. And as a school committee member, I'd like to get out of my apartment. So I will email him separately and see what we can do about that. But Chris, please, if you're listening, looking, or whatever, thanks. It's really above and beyond.
You wear your mask.
Mandy, you have a comment?
Yes, if I may, through the chair, just to answer Mr. Sordovic. I did talk to our athletic director, Mr. Mari, the other day, and we had that same conversation, Mr. Sordovic, about the spectators. And he did say that he was going to be updating that and that they would like to see school committee members and staff, district staff, to come out and support the students as well. So you would be invited to get out of your apartment and go.
Listen, that's great, because I know there are a lot of staff members through the years who have enjoyed going to see our kids involved in sports. And I think it's great if we can get open for them as well. So thank you.
Don't forget your mask and stay 6 feet away.
And gloves and sanitizer in each pocket.
We have our next meeting on November 3rd. I do want to just remind the school committee before we adjourn that we are going into executive session right after this, and you do have a separate link for that meeting that was sent to you separately. So any questions regarding the upcoming agenda? Any other comments from anyone? Seeing none, I will thank you. I'd like to have a motion, please, to adjourn.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And Zona, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Steve?
Oh, come on, aye.
Tim,
Aye.
thank you. Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you.
I gotta figure out how to get in the executive session.